Hello, everyone. I hope you are doing well. So let me go through a little bit about this week's assignments. And, in this week, you'll have a midterm. And I have already posted the midterm syllabus. I'll go through the midterm syllabus again. Let's jump into the Canvas. Okay. So this week, you need to cover Module 5 and Module 6. Module 5 is the continuation of the basic JavaScript that you have already done last week. This is the part B. And then Module 6 is the document object modeling, DOM, and some events and timer things. Before going to those modules, let me discuss about the midterm. So the midterm is scheduled on when? Okay, not available until June 1st, 12:01 a.m. and it will end on June 3rd, 11:59 p.m. So if you click this midterm exam, you'll have this page, and I think you need this access code. So access code is capital C, capital X, capital B, capital Y, capital P, small b, small u, small r, small q, capital F. So you need to put this access code to enable your midterm exam. And this is the exam time. You need to take the exam within this time frame. No exception is allowed. And here's the study guide. When you click this page, this page will show you the details of the midterm exam. So here's some rules for the Proctorio. And I have created a test quiz. You can just use that test quiz using the Proctorio so that you will not lose your midterm things. In general, the syllabus is chapter 1 to chapter 6 in Zybook, but I'm going to give you some high-level topics. First is the HTML. Those are the HTML parts, some basic tags, HTML5 semantic element, forms, flexbox, CSS grid, and you will get those things from the Zybook as well as those URLs. Then the CSS part, you need to know how to do those things. This is not too tricky, but the complex part is the JavaScript, but you don't need to do too much things on there. It's because there's some multiple choice question. So you need to select those questions, the answers on the questions. So these are the syllabus. So if you have any questions, send me an email, but I think your exam starts from tomorrow. So you don't have too much time. It is from tomorrow to June 3rd. Okay, let me go through this week's assignments. Since you are continuing with the basic JavaScript, so I think I have already told you about those functions. What are the parameters, how you can write a function. Previously, you have written those JavaScript without writing any function, but it's better to module your code in a modular way. This is the main purpose of using the function. And the purpose is to write the functions like save some time, save some code. You can reuse those code again and again using some similar function. When you're writing the function, you need to know the scope of the variables. So basically, there are two scopes, local and global. Inside a function, the scopes are local. If you're writing something before the function, they have like global functions. And here's the differences between using a var and using a let. I already told you about some objects. You can write the object of like an object is like, I don't know if I have mentioned here. Okay. It's just like a class. You can define an object with its various parameters or attributes. For example, a book is an object. You can add some attributes like who is the author, then who is the publisher, when it was published, and so on and so forth. So using those objects, you can add a lot of attributes there. So you can store multiple values or multiple items inside one single object. Just like some attributes to the books are those, and you can add or you can gather everything inside one object. And as I have told you, that array is really an important data structure that you often need to use. And array is like a bunch of elements, a bunch of variables. So previously you have used some variables. And if you need to merge or gather a lot of variables, then it's better to use an array. For an example, if there are like 40 students in this class, so there are like 40 names, 40 UVU ID, then 40 scores and some other attributes. So what I can do, I can create an array like students or names, for example. So with that names array, I can add 40 students' name. If I'm not using an array, then I need to create 40 different variables to store your names. So that's why array is really important. And there are some built-in methods of the JavaScript array. So if you need to add some item to the array, you can use push. If you need to delete some item, you can use pop, and some other built-in array methods are here. And I have already told you about the object things, so I'm not going to repeat again. I think I have already told you maps on last video. So maps is like, you can map a value with a key so that it can be searched in one shot. For example, if you're writing an array, and array have like 100 elements or like 50 states capitals, then to find maybe Salt Lake City, you need to traverse all the way to the U, like Utah, then you can find like its capital. That means if there are like 50 elements, you need to traverse 50 times. It takes like, if it's taking 1 nanosecond to traverse, it takes 50 nanoseconds while you are using an array. But if you are using a map, it is more easier to traverse or retrieve or parse. For example, I know that the capital of the Utah is Salt Lake City. I know the key maybe the Utah, UT. If I'm going to say, okay, what is the capital of UT? It will give you the value of that certain key. So it takes only one shot. That means if the searching takes 1 nanosecond to find the Salt Lake City, it will take only 1 nanosecond. That's why maps is really important if you need to search in a faster way. But it has a key and value pair. So there are some map built-in functions, set, get, has, delete, size. So if you need to set something, so you need to pass the key and value. You will set, you need to get some value using the key. You can search some value for some certain key. You can delete it. You need to know the size of the array, then you can use the size method. String object defines the methods to manipulate the string. I think I have already told you about the string method in last video. If you haven't seen the last video, I suggest you to go through the last video. Those are like built-in string methods, finding the substring, then split the string with some delimiter. So here they have used the space delimiter. Make it lowercase, make it uppercase, may trim the spaces before and after of some certain string. So those are the built-in methods. And the date method, I think surprisingly, I have already covered these things in the previous video. So I'm not going to spend too much time here. So maybe I can go to the next part, the document object model. Well, I think it's better to go from here. Okay, so strict mode. So strict mode, sometimes you need to use the strict mode to enable the strict mode. And oh, I'm sorry. To enable the strict mode, you need to use the use strict must be replaced by any statement. So here you can see where is an example here. Check. Surprising, there is no examples. So if you need to strict something, then you can apply the strict mode, and to enable the strict mode, you can use the strict. So let me try to find something on the web about the strict mode. Okay. Here we go. So the purpose of using the strict mode is to indicate that the code should be executed in the strict mode. This is the purpose. I think you can go through those two the URLs to know about the strict mode things. Then how you can add the JavaScript with the HTML. So here's our HTML, and we have written some JavaScript within the script tag. And what we're going to do here, we're just writing something here, and then, so this is an array, and we're going to change those 3 items randomly. So I put those things here like math.random function. It will give you a random value. Then the response.length means like there are 3 items, so 3 length. So I will get the random number in between 0, basically 0, 1, and 2. So here we have writing those things. So like we have written those things, that document.writeLine. That means it is writing to the document. So what is the document? Document is this web page. We're going to write some line into the document. And then what we're going to write? We're writing this HTML. It's a p tag. But here we are writing some dynamic things inside our HTML. What is the dynamic thing here? Dynamic thing is coming from this array. And there are 3 items. We're choosing those 3 items from a random function. So when we render this page, we may see this one, that one, or other one. Then the window object. So JavaScript running in a web browser that access to the window object. And window has those properties: window location, navigator, inner height, inner width, alert, confirm, and open. It will pop up to a window. So here we have written some sample window. Okay. Now, sometimes you need to use the console And what is a console? Console is like, normally we'll be using those console for the debugging purposes. So in your Chrome browser, you can find this console here on the console tab. And if you got some error, then you can see, okay, here we got some error, the red mark. And what is the file name? File name is that test.html. And what's the line number? Line number 11. So that means in line number 11, there should be some problem in the test.html. Through that console, we can just find the syntactical error, and with those details. Now we can write something into the console through those console built-in function. So console.log will display the information data to the console, warning, error, and directory things for the console method. Sometimes we need to use an external file to load our JavaScript. So previously we have written our JavaScript inside our HTML, but we can write those JavaScript in a JavaScript file. JavaScript file has the extension of .js. So for example, this is our JavaScript file, bootstrap.js. We have written our JavaScript with that file, and we can embed this code to our HTML. So this is the way how we can write our JavaScript to an external file. We can use two different types of attribute with the JavaScript loading. One is like asynchronous and another is like the defer. In case of an asynchronous attribute, it allows the browser to process the web page concurrently with loading and processing the JavaScript. The difference between the asynchronous and defer is in case of a defer, the JavaScript is not processed until the web page is completely loaded. So when the page is completely loading, then the JavaScript will work. You can check those two attributes while you're writing those your HTML files. Now the document object modeling that I have told you, the DOM. So DOM is a data structure, and it has a root node, a child node, and a parent node. So for example, our very simple HTML here, HTML tag. Inside the HTML, there is a title and body. Inside the body, there are two p tags. If we need to draw a HTML, the DOM diagram, we can see HTML is the root. It has those child, and these are the leaf node, the text one. So you can see the green color is the element node, blue is the text node, pink is the attribute nodes. So this is how we can generate different DOM tree. So this is the DOM tree for this HTML. This is the DOM tree for that HTML, and so on and so forth. So DOM, through the DOM, we can search some item. So as I have told you, document is like the document is like the parent one, very root node. You can find some ID. Like for example, we are writing here our HTML, like this one, like ID the paragraph, PID is paragraph. So we can get this P, that means where here's the P, it is the attribute. We can grab this node by calling this ID, and in JavaScript we can write document dot get item by ID, get element by ID, and here if we pass that ID, we can grab that exact p tag. We can also grab something by its tag name, by its class name, or you can query the all of those anchor tag for the li tags. That means inside an li, there are a lot of anchor tags. We can grab all of those anchors and the links. Okay, you can modify the HTML through the DOM. So you can just write text content or inner HTML. You can put some other values. For example, this one, I can query the p tag here. Here is the p tag, and I can change the p tag text content to that one. And then I can just change the OL tag, the ordered list tag, and just change the order list tag to this one. Okay. Like we can only write body, P, and OL. And then we can populate those things through the jQuery. Sorry, the JavaScript. Another important attribute is like the hidden one. Sometimes we need to hide some value there. So for example, here, you can see both are same, but in that, and in the second case, when you click these things, we can see the hidden tag. So this is the hidden tag, hidden paragraph. When we click some JavaScript, here's the JavaScript. We're just grabbing, so this is the button. From the button, when you click those things, they're calling some function. And inside the function, we're just showing those things. Okay, you can modify the DOM through those attributes. So for example, I need to find the, let me show those things here. Like append child, inner before. So I can append a child at the OL tag. That means we can get the ordered list through this tag name. Then grab the li tag, the first li tag from that OL. Then I can add another li to that OL. So this is the first the li tag, like li inside an OL, and I can add that li to that OL. That means we can easily add some items, add some li inside an ordered list. I need to grab that ordered list first, then okay, I need to add an li. So I can grab any li and then append that li as a child of that OL. We can also remove, we can use the insert before that while we're going to insert. You can remove some child, and there's some other built-in functions. You need to read those things. I'm just going a glimpse of those things, but you need to read very carefully. You can also modify the CSS using the JavaScript. You need to get the property. You can set the property. You can remove the property using those functions. You can change the CSS using the DOM. Okay, this other part. The timer is some event or related to time instead of the user's action. A timer is a general name for a technique to execute JavaScript code after some amount of time has occurred. So you can use a set timer, timeout, and clear timeout. That means if you select some timer, something will pop up. So you often see that, okay, this offer is valid from here to there, maybe a Memorial Day offer that is linking to some website. So what they're doing, they're set some timer that, okay, maybe the last day of the Memorial Day sale is maybe not the 31st, maybe the 5th of June. So what they're doing, when you are just writing some timer like that, okay, today is the 31st, and you just select, okay, the timeout time, the set timeout is like 5 days from now, then it will show you, okay, there are only 5 days. Or maybe you can select some date, and what they're doing, they are subtracting the last due date or the end date to the current date, and they're showing you that, okay, you have only 2 days left, you have only 3 days left, and so on and so forth. So you can use those timer things to write those things, but I need to go from here as well. Otherwise, I missed something. Part 1, I have to go to the part 2. Okay, timer I have already told you. Then the web storage. Normally there are 2 ways to store your data. One is the session storage, and is the local storage. You can see the storage things when you are using the Chrome dev tool. So as I told you, they are storing those things in a map. So this is the key, this is the value. You can edit those key and value. And you can store, so for example, here's the name and the level. When you save, you can save those items in the local storage. It can be either session one or the local one. And here's the methods that you can use to operate those storage. So set is like you need to provide a key and value. Get is the same way as the maps, as because they are using maps internally. And these methods are similar to the maps. You can use those methods to access your web storage data. Another good type of storage is like the format is JavaScript object notation. We call it JSON in short form. So JSON has basically 6 basic data structures. There are string, number, object, array, boolean, and null. So they are storing those data in this way, like in a curly braces. This is the key and value. This is the key, and this is the value. Basically, this is the value. So for example, they're storing 2 vehicles information. One is this, one is that. But what they're doing, so this is the index 0, this is the index 1. For index 0, they are also using some other key value pair. Okay, and you can just parse this JSON from a string, or you can convert, create a string from the JavaScript object. So when you need to create a string from a JavaScript object, you can use the JSON.stringify. And when you're going to create a JavaScript object from a string, you can use the JSON.parse. So these are the names in a string format. I think they are a JSON format. So and you can see here, okay, this is the parse, happy birthday, James. This is the stringify, what they're doing, they're creating the string. Then asynchronous JavaScript and XML. This is very popular nowadays for the Web 2.0. I think you're familiar with the Ajax, not the Ajax dishwasher. The Ajax is like when you're using Facebook, you're writing some comment for some post, and you can see the page is not loading. Instead, you can see that a box is popping up after you write some comment. So what they're doing, they're using some Ajax asynchronous JavaScript, so that you don't need to reload the page to view those feed. So this is very much popular. So asynchronous JavaScript is just requesting some pages and posting some data to some storage, maybe some database or some other places. And they have used those built-in request method. Open, it could be going through the get or post request method. send request header, you can send those things to the server. And the server will give you some response, and the response has mainly various codes, status code. If it is 200, that means it is successful, and there are some other things like 404, 400, and some other things. So based on those response, they're showing, okay, you have successfully added those things and some other things. Sometimes you see that, okay, insert some value in a pop-up box. So when you insert some value to the pop-up box and hit register or send or whatever the button they have provided, then it shows you, okay, you have successfully entered those things. So how they can do those things? They are using some AJAX on the back end, and they're sending those data to the server. If they found some 200 requests, they're just writing you, okay, your attempt is successful. Sometimes when they are getting these errors like 500, 503, 404, based on those status code, they are just giving you some other different messages. Okay, there are some third-party API. What is the API? API is like, I have already told you in the last year, I think, right? Oh, no. I haven't mentioned API. Let me check. API, no. Okay, that means I need to start API from here actually. Okay, so there are various types of APIs, but most likely we are using two types. One is the RESTful web API and the SOAP-based web API. What is the RESTful API? So it is called RESTful is because with some URL, we're just inserting some, we're calling some functions through some parameter passing. Like if you see here, this is like our API and API for the LinkedIn. We're calling the article function. And what we're going to do, we're just sending this parameter, that ID 1 to 3. So I need to get the article from the LinkedIn, which ID is 1 to 3. So what they're doing, they're returning. So we're calling to the server and they're returning some responses to us. And we can show those things. SOAP is another type of web API. And they rely heavily on the XML, and it is generally more complex to use in the RESTful web API. So this is the request response things with the web API. So through the JavaScript, we need to write something. We need to call to the web server. Web server is requesting to some web API. Then we can get those web API. And if we'd like to get, so if we'd like to access those web APIs through our JavaScript, we can directly request to that web API and they will return to us. But I think the first approach is more secure. So we often have seen these type of APIs, like our phone has its web, like weather forecasting app. We can see those weather data, whether it is windy, cloudy, or rainy, or is going to snow. How they can get those data? They are calling some certain API. Maybe there are some other options like sending zip code. Here it is. We can send the zip code, and with the zip code, they'll return us some value. With that value, those applications are showing us, okay, it is cloudy, it is rainy or snowy, whatever it is. So we get those requests from those web APIs. This is very much popular. Okay. So that's all for this week. And make sure you take the midterm before 11:59, June 3rd. And after that, it will be automatically submitted. That means automatically submitted. Maybe you can start your exam at 11:30 on June 3rd. And after passing this time, you haven't finished your exam, then it will be automatically submitted. Make sure you take your midterm before this time. And here's the study guide, as I've told you earlier in this video. So hope for the best. Wish you good luck, and I'll post another video on next week. Thank you. See you next.